It's my great honor and pleasure to be here, so I wish to thank the organizers of this excellent meeting and thank them because they asked me to give you a couple of highlights about the artificial intelligence, maybe a ChatGPT, which is part of a solution I will tell you about, and how we can use this technology for assessment of students of medicine and in medical teaching. Of course, this topic is so fascinating, at least for me, and so complicated that probably I can discuss about it for a week, but I have only 20 minutes. So let's start from a small disclosure, because I am a beneficiary of a grant from the National Center for Research and Development, and as a result of this grant, we developed the application. And part of the results of this development I will show you today to support a couple of ideas we have about how to use artificial intelligence in medicine to improve the outcomes. Okay, so first of all, we should ask why we should use the artificial intelligence in teaching of students of medicine or in general in medicine. But I don't think that this is a correct question because we already use this artificial intelligence in many fields. So for me, the actual interesting question is, can we say no to artificial intelligence? And hopefully everybody agrees with me that it's not possible because it's too tempting and it gives us too many opportunities. We are not allowed to just not use the artificial intelligence. Another huge problem is related to the future. Of course, I don't want to make any predictions about the future because it's impossible, but we can have some wishes and we can think about the future of the medicine as the medicine affordable for everybody, a medicine which is available, so medical procedures will be available for everybody, and of course we expect the highly professional healthcare system. Of course, reaching this goal in an ideal world will be easy, but in our reality it's not so easy, especially that we face huge problems. The problem is related to the demand for the physicians, which grows much faster than the actual demand and supply by the universities. And I think that the situation reflects not only the United States, however, I will show you some data which comes from the United States, but I think it affects all the developed countries, including Poland. And as you can see, the bad news is that we're facing the huge shortage of physicians. And the numbers you can see on this slide are actually valid only in the situation when we do not expect any progress in the medicine. I mean that we don't expect, for example, any improvement in the quality of medical services. But if we want to make some improvement, it means that just in the United States, they lack about 180,000 physicians by the next 10, 11 years. So it's a huge number, I mean, additional physicians. So what to do with such a problem? Of course, there is a lot of possible solutions. Some solutions are already implemented. So one of the possible solutions is, for example, to increase the physician effectiveness. But how to do that? Of course, we can equip the physicians with a modern technology, which will help, for example, to service the patients, like the technologies which already proved to be very efficient, like, for example, telemedicine, remote consultation, which especially improve availability of the services to the very remote locations. But that's not everything. Because now we have more and more sophisticated tools, possibly tools equipped with artificial intelligence, so it means that we have new opportunities to help the doctors to be more productive and more effective. And of course, it's only one of the possible solutions, but it's not enough to solve this complex problem. Another solution, an obvious solution, is of course to increase the number of physicians. But it's much easier to say than to do, and it means that we have to increase the number of medical students. And now another question arises, because if we will increase the number of medical students, so it means that we increase the admission level, for example, so are the universities already prepared for this increasing number of students? And actually, we're facing with huge problems related to that, because you know, teaching medicine is not only theory. We need to teach practical clinical skills and how to do it. At the same time, the progress and advances of the medicine makes, for example, average hospitalization time shorter and shorter. At the same time, more diseases are treated in the outpatient clinic. So it means that there is not enough patients which are available for teaching of the practical clinical skills. And there is another problem, because more patients are not willing to participate, students, in the process. So there are problems we are facing at the universities, and I think that the problems are not only related to the problems we're facing in Poland, but I think that the same problems can be expected in all developed countries. At the same time, we have another problems. Rotations are mainly provided in the teaching hospitals, so it means that the reference level of these teaching hospitals is pretty high. We can expect that there will be, a huge number of professionals which are dedicated for the teaching, but at the same time, it creates some biases, like, for example, disease representation bias. As you can see, it means that we have overrepresentation of some of the rare manifestations of the problems, diseases, and at the same time, we have insufficient cases of the common diseases. And another problem, which seems to be a paradox, which is we have an underrepresentation of rare diseases. So somebody can say, okay, rare disease is not a big deal because they are rare. But unfortunately, it's not true. Just in the European Union, we observe about 36 million people which suffering from the rare disease. They are rare, but there is a plenty of them. So we have to do something with that. And as you can see, one of the possible solutions is just to improve the recognition and the visibility of the rare diseases. But how to do that if the average student has no chance to contact with such a patient during the study period? So there is some solution, of course. I'm proud to be employed by the Medical University of Silesia in Katowice, and we are the first university in Poland who actually opened the simulation center for teaching of our students, and it was 11 years ago. At that moment, it was one of the biggest simulation centers in Europe, and definitely the most modern simulation center. And from that time, the program was so successful that now in Poland we have more than 90 simulation centers of very high quality. But it was 10 years ago. And I think that now is a good time to make the step forward and to introduce a new technology which is based on the artificial intelligence. So actually we now have a very good time for artificial intelligence because, as you can see, most of the doctors think that it can really improve availability of the healthcare system. Many doctors knows that it already improves the quality of a healthcare system. About 2/3 of us thinks that it can eventually, in the future, diagnose the patients and help to treat the patients. Of course, it can create some problems, but as you can see, the problems seems to be minor. So, for example, we're afraid about artificial intelligence can ultimately displace physicians. I don't think it's true, but fortunately, most of us think that actually it can create the new positions and increase the employment. So I don't think we should really be afraid of AI. We rather should know how to cooperate with new technology. And now we are facing the problem because we can actually use AI for simulation of the contacts between the students, doctors, and the patients. So we can provide some kind of simulations which we generally call the virtual patient. The idea is absolutely not new. As you can see, I was able to trace it down to 1971, so it's almost at least 55 years old. But till 2007, the virtual patient and such a concept was implemented in less than 25% of universities. 10 years later, the situation was a little bit better. But now, after the pandemic situation, we observed the rapid acceleration of transformation of these universities towards such technologies. So actually, what virtual patients can offer to us? We can use actors, and everybody knows about it because it's pretty old, I cannot say technology, but pretty old way how we can simulate the patients. But virtual patients has some advantages. For example, they get never tired. They are open. Anytime the students want to learn, they can log in just to the system and start solving another puzzle, another case. So actually, it's very tempting and it can be very supporting for the medical education. But now it means that it's a responsibility of the universities to promote some of the problems and to promote the understanding of the promises and possible limitations of AI. So we have to prepare our students for the future of medicine. And of course, we do that with the help of different organizations which can issue some policies like the policies mentioned on this slide. And now we try to implement these new technologies in our teaching techniques and teaching process. Because I strongly believe that if we will be able to combine the digital competences of our students with the continuing medical educations, we will be able to prepare our graduates, future doctors, for any possible new situation in the future and any possible new technologies. So, benefits. Okay, one of the possible benefits is that in compared to the traditional way how we can learn or how we can teach the students, which is a rather linear model, we can make some branched complex clinical cases. So it looks like here. So for example, now students can be in the position of the doctor. It can make actually the actual decisions. So he can choose or she can choose the different options. With every options, there are possible results connected to. And after getting the results, the student can reconsider the options and, for example, proceed with this medical case. So let me give you an example. The example comes from the applications we actually developed and used at the Medical University of Silesia with a great success. So this is the case, very simple, just I prepared this case for this presentation. So it's not, the perfect examples of how to, for example, perform the interview with the patients, but as you can see now, AI simulates the actual patient. So I can ask any possible question.
My stomach aches a lot.
And I try to ask
For a few minutes ago.
Very simple questions. Just
Since yesterday, I have been experiencing other symptoms.
Just to pretend that I'm, an experienced student who wants to learn something. So I can now freely discuss with
I have a fever of 38.3 degrees Celsius.
And as I told you, I intentionally choose...
I don't take any medication.
Repeat some question, and I intentionally do something wrong.
I don't have any allergies.
Because later I wish to show you the assessment of my conversation, which is done automatically by the AI. So now AI can simulate my contact with the patient. Actually, the whole patient is the creation of the artificial intelligence. So this is one thing. And we can do much more. Because now we can proceed, for example, to the physical examination. Actually, this is not the strong point of this particular simulation because no simulation can reproduce in reality the contact with the actual patient, the texture of the body and so on. But still, I can get a lot of information, and I can actually, which you will see, include, for example, some kind of multimedia. So it means that now the student can see, for example, the very rare symptoms and things which will introduce him to the problem. And of course, it can be everywhere. And now you can, for example, if you wish, can hear some cardiac sounds. Oh, actually, we can't. Yeah, but it's, it's a local problem. So actually, you can see that you can embed the multimedia in your case. So it gives another opportunity for the student. We can proceed with that. Because there is some other examples how we can embed, for example, multimedia to show, the very rare symptoms. Sometimes symptoms the students has no chance to face during the clinical rotation. Okay. So you can see that it creates some benefits for us, but it's not everything. We can use these such tools, for example, for the student assessment. So, for example, we can assess the time spent which student spends for the diagnosis and the treatment. We can evaluate the actions. We can review the actions at the decision. So later we can discuss every problem with the students. And of course, we can calculate the cost and time effectiveness of the students' decisions, which is actually very interesting for the students. And this is how it's done. So for example, proceeding from the physical examination, I can actually order any kind of tests. But I think that, again, we have a small problem. Or maybe not. Sorry, it's my fault. So as you can see, the student has the opportunity to order any kind of diagnostic testing. And what is very important, because of AI, it doesn't necessarily mean that the student has to order the tests we already predicted, which are valid in this particular case. The student can do anything he or she wants. So, for example, the students can, for example, order the tests which are directly connected to the case, or I can order any kind of test I wish just to try what will happen if I will do something wrong. So of course there will be no penalty, at least not immediate penalty, but as you can see, for example, I can embed a video on which it can be a still image. So for example, I can mark some features which I think that are important for the student in this particular case, but of course the student is not limited. He can do something wrong, and actually the student was me, so I try to do something wrong. So for example, over the test which is not necessary, like for example, breast USG. And as you can see, we can embed some results from this. This is generated by the AI as well. So now the students can see, okay, no problem, I can order any kind of test and later evaluate it. But of course, it will influence the assessment of the students at the end. So let's move ahead. Another part, of course, very important is I can propose the diagnosis and the treatment for this particular patient, as you can see. So I can, of course, choose anything I wish. I have plenty of options, which is very important in my opinion. Now the student is playing the active part. There is no something like he can only choose between the predetermined options. The students can actually do anything he wants, and that's why I think it's the strong advantage of using AI, because it will greatly improve possibilities. So for example, if this was my proposal for this particular patient, but it's still not enough. We can proceed. So you can see that now, because of a simulation, I can assess a different aspect of the student-patient interactions, but I can do much more. I can, for example, assess something which is very important, something like the soft skills and soft competencies. And I will show you my final assessment, which will probably be not very great. Another very important aspect is the standardization of this case, because AI generates a different case every time the students log in, so they are not repeating, so it means that they are not boring. Every case is a little bit different, but the basic principle is still the same, so we can use for standardization such an approach. So this is my final assessment. As you can see, I wasn't very good. My overall result was 69%. Okay. But what is, yeah, I passed, okay? I expected that I should be better, okay? So it means that I have to train a little bit more, but yeah, forgive me, it was just for the purpose of this presentation. But what is very important, I have a full assessment. So I have a full information, what I done wrong and what I done right. So I can see immediately my strong and weak points. So it means that next time I will take this patient, I can proceed much better because I learned something. At least I learned what I done wrong. But that's not enough. Okay, sorry, I cannot skip it. So, for example, the supervisor has a full access. So the supervisor can, for example, check any actions of the students. For example, the interview, the sequence of ordered tests, and so on. But we have some much more information. So, for example, in the assessment, I can see what I done correctly, what I done wrong, but I have information about my soft competencies, for example, how I performed during the interview with the patient, which is something fantastic because the students really need these information bags to improve their skills. As you can see, I don't know if you can read it, but there is highlighted my strong points, what I done correctly, for example, during my interview, what I done wrong, and this is in the form of a description. So actually, it's very informative, and I think it's valuable information for the student. And what is the most important thing, till this moment, no teacher is involved in this process of assessment. Everything is done automatically by the AI, and basically we use the ChatGPT because it's already introduced in this version of the application. So, of course, this application is fully integrated with our university computer system. So actually we have an access to our students. We can, for example, enroll them automatically to the groups and so on and so on. Of course, there is much more options. We probably have no time to discuss about all of them, but as you can see, such a tools based on the AI, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah? We just start this program, and already I think, in my opinion, the results are pretty much impressive, but it can really help in our medical education and preparing our students for being in the future better doctors. So such an approach can be used in different situations. So we can use such an approach in the PBL if you wish. We can use them in these simulated cases in the individual learning, remote learning, and we can use them in the assessment, which is very interesting for us. And in my personal opinion, if such tools will be well implemented, they will create a very friendly environment for education, and they can possibly fill the gap between the theory and the practice, and can solve at least some of the problems related to the obtaining practical clinical skills by our students, at least at the initial phases, initial stages of the clinical education. To me, the very important thing is the opinion of our students. So we make a quick survey in different students groups, and as you can see, the results are really impressive. Most of the students, as far as I remember, maybe there was only 1 or 2 persons who says that I'm not interested. Most of the students, something like 98, 99% are really interested in these solutions. They are so interested that they think that it shouldn't be not only introduced at the university, but they want to use it at home. They found these clinical cases very interesting. And what is very important, they feel that now they are in the position to make the decision. They feel like they're making the real clinical decision, which of course increases their confidence in the future. So the question is, what do you think? Do we achieve our intended goals? Probably not yet, but we are still improving. And I'd like to introduce at least part of a team who helped us to create this tool. Some members of the team are present here in this room. So after this session, if you wish, I will be available for you. And if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to give you the answer. Thank you very much.